first and foremost, touch on the internal crises or issues in the People's Democratic Party. Let's get some insights into the matter. Now, I'm being joined by a former Minister of Aviation and a chieftain of the PDP, Mr. Osita Chidoka, who joins us from Maryland in the United States. Thank you so much, Mr. Chidoka, for joining us tonight. Does this mean that this is some kind of calm, or your party should approach this with some caution, considering that the last time around we thought that it was calm, then we saw a court case from River State and then another one from Kebbi State. Do you, in your inner mind, or what does your inner mind tell you about what transpired today and the outcome of the meetings of the leaders?
Well, I'm in touch with the leaders of PDP and some of the leaders, and what I can say with certainty is that PDP is a very resilient organization. After 21 years, we have a lot in our bags of issues, challenges, and how to resolve them. But what you see today is just the natural clarification that comes from following a judicial and democratic process. The PDP constitution was clear who will be the acting chairman in the absence of the chairman. And despite initial hiccups, everybody submitted to the right acting chairman, who is the deputy chairman, South. And then after that, depending on the court order, the chairman stepped aside. Then there was another court order that restored him to office, and he came back. So, but the two things that are in front of us is the party convention of National Convention, which the caucus have agreed now to go ahead with on the 30th and the 31st. So I believe that by the time the next meeting is over, which I believe it should be over by now, they will be able to give clear information about the venue, the timing, and all of that, all the logistics issue around it. So I do not think that, and I do not foresee any more problems arising from this, but if any comes up, we will deal with it accordingly.
I like your optimism, and it does look like even in the ruling APC, that optimism, and I actually love what you guys call it. You said, usually you often say, it's a family affair. And so in this family affair, former Senate President David Mark has been saddled with the responsibility of asking those that went to court to withdraw their court cases and the lawsuits. But how easy will that be, considering the grievances of some of those who have gone to court?
Well, it will always be easy, because at the end of the day, the fight is not to finish. Like the famous Solomon's case in the Bible, looking at the child that is alive, only the person that did not give birth to a child will want a situation where you divide the child. So long as you want the child alive, there will always be room for compromise. There will always be room for coming together. And I believe that this was different tendencies within the PDP who have different approaches to the same issue. The issue is to build a resilient PDP for 2023 election. Now, people have divergent opinion about how that can be done, about the personnel that can lead us to that point. But I want to say that I think that what we are seeing today is just a mark of the internal process of the PDP, a mark of its internal resilience. So if any of the parties involved in the suit are still, as I presume, interested in getting the PDP up and running for the 2023 election, then I believe that it will not be difficult for them to withdraw from court and come to the table to discuss.
You know, one of the reasons why I like having a conversation on this program with you is because of your analytical mindset in approach to issues. And I'd like to engage you in a few of those now. I was at the Eagle Square pre-2015 at that national convention where it looks like all hell let loose on your party. walking out of by major leaders of the party, the new PDP emerging and joining forces with other political parties, governors totally divided, leaders of the party are not agreeing, BOT divided. And it does look to me like the traits that I saw that day is reappearing. And some of the gladiators that were involved are also actively involved now. It looks like a deja vu incident. Give me your thoughts on, I mean, I'm very sure that you were around at that time on that very day that we're talking about, when the president was seated, the vice president was seated, and members and leaders of the party, governors were working out on the national convention. And that was one of the reasons why leaders in your party said it led to the loss of your party at the election in 2015.
Okay, so there's no deja vu here if you were conversant with issues of 2015. In 2015, Nigeria had been, there were issues that had led PDP to its crisis. And I will point out two of those issues. One was the idea of the Governors Forum, who will be the chairman. And there was Governor Mechi and there was Governor Jang being supported by the president. And of course, they went to the election and Governor Mechi became the chairman of the Governors Forum. So that created a crack in the party because there was a division about who would be the chairman of the Governors Forum. Then on the second part, there was what I would call an ethnic rebellion in the PDP. I call it ethnic because it was predominantly by the northern governors of the PDP who felt that President Jonathan should not have gone for a second term. And amongst those was somebody like the governor of Adamawa at that time, Governor Nyako, and he had other supporters, who now, other supporters like Governor Babangida Aliyu, he had Governor Kwankwanso from Kanu, he had Governor of Jigawa State at that time. So what happened was that they were of the opinion that President Jonathan should not go for a second term. Aligned with that opinion was their visit to the US, where the governor of Adamawa pointed out that President Jonathan was behind Boko Haram. And the idea was to destroy the election of 2015. So those two actions led to what you saw in Eagle Square, when the simple issue of the control of the Adamawa structure, the Adamawa State Party structure was being in contention because the chairman at that time, Bamanga Tuko, had already kind of taken the structure away from the governor, who was perceived to be anti-President Jonathan. So this is just talking about it in broad strokes. I don't want to go into the details. But then the governor said, if the structure of Adamawa is not given to the governor of Adamawa State, we will stage a walkout. So at the accreditation, they accredited the members that was in favor of Alhaji Bamanga Tuko. And that led to the walkout of the governors in Eagle Square. That was the immediate reason. But beyond that, there were the remote causes I have mentioned, the break in the PDP, the fear that President Jonathan had reneged on an agreement, and also the worry.
Mr. Chidoka, you know why I love you know what I said it, I meant it in every sense of it. So I love the way you put it. And so the influence of governors, the role of major stakeholders in the party, and we're seeing that sort of traits, and I mentioned it earlier, those kind of traits have reappeared, and it does look like they have appeared so strongly this time around. And that's why I said it looks like deja vu.
So that's the thing. I want to show you the difference. The more example that will have fitted this is the disagreement that comes between a governor and the people that they have sent to Abuja. And I'll give you two instances. The instance of Chairman Okwinwodo, Okwesileze Nwodo, and Governor Sullivan Chime. So Governor Okwesileze Nwodo was at Eagle Square in 2011 when a court order was served on him that he was no more a member of the party in Enugu State. So there have always been this tension between Abuja-based politicians and the local politicians. If you look at the issue of, and I gave that example recently, the issue of the Senate president, Senator Anyim could not come back to the Senate because Governor Sam Egwu was opposed to his coming back. Senator Ken Nnamani could not come back to the Senate because Governor Chimaroke Nnamani was opposed to his coming back. Now, this is a dynamic between Governor Wike and Uche Secondus, who he helped to come to Abuja.
Is there any evidence to that?
Any evidence to what?
To what you just mentioned between Rivers Governor and Prince Secondus?
No, of course, that's the major issue in the party today. The major internal issues today is that the governor of Rivers State is of the opinion that PDP is underperforming. And that's the contention. So what is happening today when you see court order from Rivers State and court orders from here is just a token of that internal dynamics. And which is why I said it is not a major party crisis. It is the nature of our political system. No national chairman or no national officer have been able to withstand the position of his governor. So there is always this, challenges that you witness when you have somebody from a local party with a governor in his base. There's always that dynamic. It is different from 2015. 2015 was a different issue.
Okay, so let's look at the way forward now, because the issue of the venue of the National Convention is on one hand. The issue of zoning is going to be another issue. Whether or not these national positions of the party should be, the statuses should be maintained, then that means if it's maintained, if a southern national chairman is approved by the NEC, that means that your party has opted for a northern presidential candidate. And the debate also of whether or not the party should not have its convention in Abuja, that disagreement has happened also in your party. How do you hope that this will happen tomorrow at the NEC meeting?
Well, all I can say is that the NEC meeting of the party will resolve these issues. There must be an agreement one way or the other. The PDP has enough memory, internal capacity and memory and bandwidth to control the issues confronting us today. So I'm only saying that what you are seeing here today is what you see in all the political parties as you go towards a national election. You can see that happening in APC. You can even see that in the smaller parties. Even in APGA, in Anambra State, as the governorship election came, you saw a flurry of court cases. So because political parties in Nigeria have been serving as special purpose vehicles, people come there during elections and use it to get to power. And then after that, we enter into a hiatus. All is calm until the next election. So there is bound to be arguments about where the zoning should go, but that I believe will be resolved by the party. And I trust that the organs of PDP are strong enough to resolve those issues. There is, for me, there is no major crisis. Why I have given you the difference between the scenarios you've painted is to show you that there's no major crisis. This is not an existential crisis for PDP.
Thank you for that. Probably you might give a description whether or not it's a leaky roof or is a house without a roof at the moment. But it does look like water is letting in your party. Maybe it's some flood, or it's just some little water that is troubling your house. But the days as the approaches will tell us more. Well, let's look at the effect of this crisis in your party. Already, the governorship election in Anambra State is been affected by some of these issues. 2023 election is also being drawn into this matter. But some members of the party are worried that should the status quo be maintained in the party leadership, the party's chances might be affected. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, of course, every crisis will have effect on any organization. What you want at all times is to maintain a certain level of compromise, or rather, a certain level of peace within the organization for us to focus on these external issues. Let me point out again that I think that the challenge facing the political parties in Nigeria today is not the challenge of where the chairmanship is zoned or who is the chairmanship. It is, for me, the failure of the political parties in Nigeria to be at the vanguard of the democratization process. That is to say, the party's infrastructure is not modernizing as fast as INEC is modernizing. INEC has moved away from where they were in 1999 to a very technical organization with a lot of investments in technology. The political parties haven't done the same. Our political parties haven't even come to the level where INEC is. That is why we keep having these issues. Once we resolve those issues and have our internal operations and led by the people on ground, then crises in various parts of the party will not impact on the party's chances for an election. And I believe that this will not impact on the party's chances in Anambra, because what will matter most in Anambra is the opinion of the PDP in Anambra and how the PDP in Anambra is able to come together towards achieving the goal of winning the party in the state. Of course, the national support will be critical. The National Campaign Council is well put together and highly star-studded by PDP governors, but that will only be ancillary help to the forces on ground. So being able to rebuild the party from the ward level, from the polling unit level, all the way to the local government and the state is the critical task that will face PDP in the next few years. Because unless we get to the point where INEC is, unless we get to the point where we can dimension our political parties, our electoral map, to see where our voters are coming, to see who are the demographics that vote for PDP, to see what are the issues important to those demographics, and how do we continue to deliver that to the demographics that support PDP. We will be playing a blind game. So I am of the strong opinion that the impact of this personnel crisis is not very disturbing to the party as the challenge of modernizing the party infrastructure to be able to reach out to his massive supporters across the country. PDP has one of the best ground games in Nigeria. It has one of the widest appeal in Nigeria. It has one of the best infrastructure in terms of membership across the country. But we haven't been able to modernize that system. And I think that's our major task going forward. So I don't believe this crisis is going to impact the election in Anambra greatly.
Mr. Osita Chidoka, former Minister of Aviation and a chieftain of the People's Democratic Party, thank you so much for the insights and your thoughts that you've shared with us right here on the program. Thank you indeed.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.